Today, close to $55 a barrel, just over $75. The law of supply and demand being what it is, that is what is driving up tight supplies. Control of the world's great oil reserve fell into the hands. Oil closed today at $47.86. Crude oil.
Our world is a giant machine with billions of moving parts. Its primary fuel is oil.
For the United States, oil was once a source of power. More than any other vital material, oil was central to the American way of life. But until you really investigate this, you don't appreciate just how deeply our economy is dependent on oil.
Here in the United States, 98% of our 300 million cars and trucks run on gasoline. Nearly 100% of our farm vehicles are diesel-powered. 99% of our railways run on diesel as well. And all of our planes fly on jet fuel. Oil is not only our main transportation fuel, it also provides nearly 50% of all our energy needs.
Then if you think of the million products that are made from petrochemicals.
Petrochemicals are also the basic compounds in the majority of our day-to-day products, like plastics, asphalt, tires, polyester, as well as cosmetics and pharmaceuticals.
All of these industries rest on an abundant supply of petroleum, and that's why when petroleum becomes scarce or the price of petroleum rises, the entire economy is affected.
We didn't always rely on oil. Prior to the mid-19th century, the major sources of power were animal, human, wind, water, coal, and wood. When Colonel Edwin Drake drilled the first American oil well in Pennsylvania in 1859, few realized how important this product would become for our society.
When we first started using oil back in the 19th century, it was for lubrication and also for lighting.
But a few decades after Drake's first well, the automobile made petroleum a vital resource. At the time, the world was consuming 20 million barrels of oil a day. And the U.S. was providing half of the world's oil. Cheap and plentiful, oil was both the goose and the golden egg, stimulating progress that seemed as if it would go on forever.
Since the onset of the petroleum age in 1860, the United States has been the leading consumer of petroleum, and we remain so today. Well into the 1940s, we produced all of the oil we consumed. Even in the 1950s and 1960s, we produced 80 or 90% of our oil consumption. It's only been in the past decade or so that we've become significantly dependent on imported oil. We now depend on imported oil for about 2/3 of our total demand, and it's expected to increase radically over the next 25 years, but our domestic production is plummeting.
After 1970, U.S. production peaked and began to slip.
Since 1970, the U.S. has been producing, on average, less oil every year.
Today, the U.S. produces only 8.3 million barrels of oil each day, yet consumes more than 20 million barrels.
We have about 5% of the world's population. We consume 1/4 of the world's petroleum, about 20 million barrels per day out of total world consumption of 80 million barrels.
That's why we have to import something like 2/3 of the oil that we use now.
Every day, America buys around 12 million barrels of foreign oil.
This year, the U.S. will spend over $600 billion on imported oil, more than our entire defense budget, and almost twice as much as the growth in our gross domestic product. That means that even when our economy grows, there will be no improvement in our overall prosperity because all the growth goes to paying for foreign oil.
Since we became reliant on imported oil, it has become a source of weakness for the United States.
I know it came as a shock to some to hear a Texan stand up there in front of the country and say, we got a real problem. America is addicted to oil. But I'm in it because it's a true fact and we've got to do something about it now.
When drug addicts can no longer pay for their addiction with cash flow, they start selling their assets. Our oil addiction has now reached that point.
We are taking a huge amount of our wealth and transferring it to oil-producing countries, some of which are not our best friends.
Over the last few months, investment funds controlled by Islamic governments have bought significant shares of some of America's most prestigious corporations. At current oil prices, OPEC countries could control every major U.S. company within 5 years, and within 10 to 12 years, they could own every major corporation outright. Oil is now so valuable that the Saudi oil reserves are worth more than all of the companies traded on the New York Stock Exchange combined. The economic balance of power is shifting away from the U.S. and into the hands of governments that hate us.
What makes this so much more dangerous is that we're not the only great power that is militarizing our foreign energy policy. China is following along the same path as we are.
China's economy is growing so fast it builds a city the size of Philadelphia every month. Oil is the rocket fuel for all this growth, and China made it clear today it will outspend the competition to secure it.
We will never be free from the dangers of endless wars in the Middle East until we disassemble this large military apparatus that has been created for the protection of Middle Eastern oil.
China's increasing wealth is also buying high-tech missiles and jet fighters capable of going one-on-one with the best America can deploy. This new China, some warn, is a whole new threat.
Russia has also become a player in all of this. In its effort to become a superpower all over again, Russia seeks to dominate the flow of oil from the Caspian Sea area and Central Asia, the flow of oil and natural gas. And so it is competing with the United States for control and dominance in these areas. That's the kind of dangerous situation that we see developing in the global pursuit of scarce energy supplies.